Welcome back to another episode of No Shame with Shane, where the takes have no lies, no bias, but most importantly, no shame. I'm your host, Shane Fordham, with all the shameless sports takes. Now, you guys could be watching any podcast, any show right now, but you are tuning into the No Shame with Shane podcast, so I appreciate you. I appreciate you 3 times over. Jumping straight into it today, Sixers got a shot. Sixers got a shot. Y'all know, I know we sing that tune every year. But the Sixers definitely have a shot this year, 100%. Like, the Sixers coming off of a dominant win against the Bulls, 157 to 137. Joel Embiid's first game back, Paul George's first game back. Still no Maxey, but at least getting Joel Embiid and PG back on the court, that does mean a lot. That does say a lot. That does show a lot, as we saw in this matchup. Now, I know it's like, Shane, it's just the Bulls. It's the Chicago Bulls. They're not even in the running really for the playoffs this year. I mean, how much of a test is this really going to be? You guys beat the Bulls and you think, oh, it's, the world is ours type of thing. I know I'm not jumping the gun. I'm not saying that because the Sixers beat the Bulls, that means we're winning the finals this year or anything like that. But there were a lot of bright spots to see in this game against the Bulls, the way they came back. But honestly, the main things that stuck out to me after watching this Sixers Bulls game are, one, the Sixers are definitely a playoff team even without Jared McCain. Two, VJ Edgecombe has as high of a ceiling to me as any other rookie in the NBA, including Cooper Flag. Those are the two things that stuck out to me the most. Looking at the Sixers playoff chances, the landscape of the Eastern Conference right now, there's no reason for me to believe that a fully healthy Sixers team can't make a deep playoff run this postseason. Like, there's no reason for me to not believe that. Like, the way looking at the Eastern Conference landscape right now, the Sixers, alongside with the Celtics, are the most proven team and battle-tested team coming out of the East this season. That hasn't really been the case in previous years, but this year, there isn't a team that is more proven than the Sixers going into the playoffs other than the Celtics. Like, you look at the Pistons, incredibly high ceiling as a team, incredibly high ceiling for the future in this conference, definitely talented, but they're super young, inexperienced. They're not primed for a deep playoff run. The Knicks are going to be a threat, but they're not really going to be a finals favorite as long as Jalen Brunson is their best player, number one option. And especially on top of the fact that Cat is tends to be soft in the paint, rebounding, throwing his body around. He's not going to be able to out-physical a guy like Joel Embiid, which gives the Sixers an edge. You look at the Cavs, James Harden is their second best player. So that's really all I need to say, because we know how James Harden tends to fall off in the playoffs, how he tends to dip in the playoffs. Especially we as Sixers fans, we know what that's like because he was our second best player for a time. Like, James Harden is more likely to drop 9 points in a crucial elimination playoff game than to help carry your squad to victory alongside Donovan Mitchell. You look at the Hawks, the Raptors, like, no elite guys on those rosters, just a bunch of second to third options. Like, the Sixers right now are among the most proven, battle-tested teams, playoff-ready teams in the East, alongside the Celtics. Like, you can't really make an argument for any other team other than the Celtics as to being more proven, being more playoff-ready than the Sixers. The Sixers have as good a shot coming out of the East as anybody else in the conference. They have as good a shot as anybody else. Like, they have more talent than most of the teams in the East. They have more experience than most of the teams in the East. They have better coaching than a lot of the teams in the East. And they honestly just have, I think, the health as well. I think they have the health as well on their side coming out of the East. So, like, honestly, the Sixers have just about as good a shot as anybody else coming out of the East. The Pistons are super young. The Knicks, I don't think, have a guy that can deliver them a championship right now in terms of a number one option. The Cavs, James Harden is their second best player. You're not going to win with James Harden. He doesn't play championship winning basketball. And then you look at the next couple of best teams in the East, the Hawks right now, the Raptors right now. The Hawks, while they've gotten a big boost from Jonathan Kuminga coming to town, they don't have the roster to contend with with really anyone else any one of those top teams in the East. And the Raptors are in that same boat. They have no elite guys, just a lot of second to third option guys. The Sixers right now have as good a shot as anybody coming out of the Eastern Conference in terms of as we get into the playoffs. But even looking at the Sixers and the Celtics side by side in terms of the Sixers playoff chances this year, one reason why I think there's no reason why the Sixers can't make it their year this year is because they're honestly on par with the Celtics to me right now. They're honestly on par. Like, the Sixers playoff chances have never been better than what they are this year. And I say that because the gap between the Celtics and the Sixers this year has never been tighter than what it is right now. Like, the gap between the Celtics and the Sixers is tighter than it has ever been really during Jason Tatum's career in Boston. Like, you look at the Celtics right now, this is probably the least amount of talent that they've ever had during Tatum's career. Very different team than that team that was, on the verge of potentially going back-to-back for finals. No Drew Holiday, no Kristaps Porzingis, no Al Horford. They still play with less talent, still play the same brand of basketball in terms of living and dying by the three. They're still a top 3 team this year in three-pointers averaged per game. Over 40 attempts from long range. Like, they're still like, and then Jason Tatum on top of that is coming off of an Achilles injury. Like, the gap between the Sixers and the Celtics this year going into the playoffs is tighter than it has ever been, which is why I don't think it's crazy to say that the Sixers' chances of making a deep playoff run this year, I don't think they've honestly, this might be the best shot the Sixers have ever had in terms of going into the playoffs, with how tightly contested, how on par and on level they are with the Celtics right now. Like, I really think, like, with the Celtics being the toughest competition for the Sixers coming out of the East, 1000%. I don't think it's crazy to say that the Sixers have arguably their best shot at a deep playoff run this year than they've ever had, because of how tight they are with the Celtics right now, talent-wise, skill-wise, and ability-wise. Like, I don't think that's crazy. Like, the gap between the Celtics and the Sixers is tighter now than it has ever been going into the playoffs, at least during Jason Tatum's career in Boston. They have less talent than they've had during Jason Tatum's career. The guys that they sort of let go of after last year's run, no Drew Holiday, no KP, no Al Horford. A lot of experience walking out of the building right there. But this is also the same year where the Sixers have arguably had more talent than they have had during that sort of stint. They have an elite point guard right now in Tyrese Maxey, a guy who, when healthy, is a top 5 MVP candidate in the NBA. They have arguably the best rookie in the NBA and one of the best two-way overall guards in the NBA right now in VJ Edgecombe. They have one of the most dominant big men to ever play the game of basketball, and who is arguably a top 3 player in the NBA when healthy, in Joel Embiid. They have Paul George as a number 4, as the 4th option, which is not a terrible situation to be in at all with Paul George. They have one of the more talented bench mafias in the NBA right now, when Justin Edwards, Quentin Grimes, Adem Bona, Cam Payne, who has been playing really good basketball over this last month, honestly. Like, this is honestly the most talented the Sixers have been in a while, where in the same, like, the Sixers, like, the gap has never been tighter between the Celtics and the Sixers. Like, while the Celtics have probably had the least amount of talent they've had during Tatum's career, the Sixers have the most amount of talent that they have had during that same time period. So the Sixers definitely have as good of a shot as anybody to make it out of the East, especially in comparison to the Celtics. 100%. 1000%. Like, I do think, though, as we kind of finish out this season and going into the playoffs, not having Jared McCain does put pressure on Justin Edwards to perform. Like, Jared McCain was the most lethal scorer that we had coming off of the bench. Without McCain, that mantle now falls on Justin Edwards. Justin Edwards, aside from Quentin Grimes, of course, is the most lethal scorer that we have coming off the bench in rotation. Like, obviously, Quentin Grimes is going to do what he does. Quentin Grimes is a consistent piece coming off of the bench. Definitely one of the best six men in the entire NBA. But now that we don't have Jared McCain, Quentin Grimes cannot be the only one providing that spark off the bench, providing that sort of that scoring ability off the bench. Not having McCain, it puts more pressure on Justin Edwards. Because of what we have seen from Justin Edwards, because he has shown the ability to, as he gets more minutes, to put more numbers on the board. A guy who has several double-digit figure games this season, 20-point games, 30-point games, 15-point games. Because of what we have seen from Justin Edwards, now that we do not have Jared McCain coming off the bench, that pressure does now fall on Justin Edwards to perform and rise to that occasion, to make sure that our bench mafia is as lethal as possible, because it can't just be on Quentin Grimes. So not having Jared McCain does put more pressure on Justin Edwards to perform. But if Justin Edwards is able to rise to that occasion, like on a fully healthy Sixers team with Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, PG, Joel Embiid, Barlow all on the floor, we do need Justin Edwards to step up and be a spark plug off the bench alongside Quentin Grimes in order for the Sixers to have the best shot at making a deep playoff run this season. 100%. But another thing that this game did prove to me in watching the Sixers versus the Bulls, even though it was the Bulls, it did show me, or honestly just kind of just re-emphasize what I already believed, but VJ Edgecombe definitely has as high of a ceiling in the NBA as Cooper Flag. Like, I don't think anybody can argue that at this point. Like, VJ Edgecombe definitely has as high of a ceiling as Cooper Flag. Like, you may not have been able to say that during the draft process, but we can say that now that we have seen them get some burn in an NBA game. Like, if I'm looking at VJ Edgecombe and Cooper Flag side by side, like, VJ Edgecombe to me is more athletic, which makes him slightly more versatile. He's more explosive. He has a quicker first step. He's more bouncy than Cooper Flag. I think they're both equal defenders. I think they're both equal shot creators. But honestly, if VJ Edgecombe's skill can catch up to his athleticism, I don't think it's crazy to say that VJ Edgecombe might be able to grow into a better shot creator and better scorer than Cooper Flag. Like, having the talent and the skill set that VJ Edgecombe has, the explosiveness, the athleticism, like the ability to guard multiple positions, his ball handling ability, his one-man fast break ability. Like, if his skill is able to catch up to his elite level of athleticism, already coming into the NBA as one of the most elite guys in the entire league, if his skill can catch up to his level of athleticism, I don't think it's crazy to think that VJ Edgecombe could grow into a better scorer and a better shot creator than Cooper Flag. Like, I think Cooper Flag right now is more of a polished scorer than VJ Edgecombe, who is kind of just more so raw. But I don't think it's crazy to say down the road, maybe even next year, the year after that, VJ Edgecombe could be more of a dangerous offensive presence than Cooper Flag. I don't think that's crazy. We've seen multiple flashes of that throughout this season in both of their rookie seasons. But against the Bulls, like, VJ Edgecombe showing that he can be a 20 to 30 point scorer on really any given night whenever Joel Embiid's not on the floor, whenever Tyrese Maxey's not on the floor. The fact that he can sort of take on that responsibility in a way that does translate to winning basketball and a winning brand of basketball, I think says a lot about exactly how high VJ Edgecombe's ceiling is as a basketball player, as a Sixer for sure. Like, VJ Edgecombe definitely has as high of a ceiling as Cooper Flagg, but I also think he has the potential to surpass Cooper Flagg because of just his natural abilities, his natural talent. Like, we know his skills are honestly only going to get better. They're only going to get more refined the more he sort of progresses through his career. If his skills are able to catch up to his just God-given talent and athleticism and just overall ability, VJ Edgecombe could be more of a problem than Cooper Flagg. He could be more of a problem. But looking at the Celtics real quick, because I don't want to just breeze past that. Looking at the Celtics, obviously the Celtics to me are the Sixers' biggest competition in the East this year. You know, obviously the Knicks are a formidable squad, definitely great coaching in Mike Brown. You know, I think the Cavs present their own sort of threat, not as much, but still having talent. I definitely think the Celtics are the Pistons being super young. In terms of the playoffs, I definitely think the Celtics are the biggest competition for the Sixers going into this postseason. I just think the Sixers' best chance of having a deep playoff run, though, is sort of avoiding the Celtics in the first round, which they could do. They're only 4 games apart, I believe, from the Cavs sitting at that 4th seed. You know, so if they're able to catch up to the Cavs, maybe even surpass the Cavs, kind of maybe go on a little win streak here, they could bounce up from that, I believe, that 7th seed, 8th seed to more 4th seed, 5th seed range and sort of skip the Celtics until later in the playoffs. But like, even if the Sixers stay where they are right now, like looking at the playoff picture right now for the NBA, the Sixers are sitting in the 7th seed. The Celtics are, of course, at the 2nd seed. You know, Sixers would be playing in the play-in tournament right now. Like, if the season ended today, the Sixers would be playing in the play-in right now against the Orlando Magic. Winner of that game would play the Celtics in round 1 of the playoffs. Of course, they are the 2nd seed. Like, that is not an ideal situation for the Sixers. But if that is the scenario that does end up coming to fruition, I don't think the season necessarily ends for the Sixers. Like, if the Sixers, like, if playoffs were to start tomorrow and the playoff picture stays the way it is right now, with the Sixers having to come out of the play-in and meeting the Celtics in the first official round of the playoffs, I don't think it's all said and done that the Sixers season would be over after round 1 just because they're playing the Celtics. Now, obviously, playing the Celtics round 1 this year is not ideal. But with the talent that we have seen in the Sixers team this year, especially when everybody is fully healthy Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid on the floor, PG on the floor, Quentin Grimes, Justin Edwards coming off the bench, Dominique Barlow healthy on the floor starting at the 4 spot, Trenton Watford coming off the bench. Like, I don't think it's all said and done that the Sixers season would be ending in round 1 against the Celtics. I don't think it's all said and done. I think this is arguably the most talented Sixers team that we have seen in the past 4 or 5 years. This is arguably the most talented Sixers team that we have seen, with arguably the most proven coach that the Sixers have had in the past 4 or 5 years, with Nick Nurse being a champion, having championship culture, bringing that sort of culture into the locker room, into the building. Like, with how talented the Sixers are this year, with the ability to win games that we have seen from a healthy Sixers team this year, the fact that the Sixers have another guy to rely on in Tyrese Maxey other than Joel Embiid, that they also have even more hope on top of that and more hope for the future in VJ Edgecombe, the versatility that this team has this year. I don't think if the Sixers were to face off against the Celtics in round 1, that it's all said and done, that the Sixers season would be over. Like, playing the 6 Celtics in round 1 is not ideal, but the Sixers definitely have a shot at beating the Celtics in the first round in a playoff series. I definitely think they have a shot. I definitely think at the very least they have a shot. But they're looking at the Celtics, though, you really have to admire what the Celtics have been able to do this year. you really have to admire what Jaylen Brown and the Celtics have been able to do this year. And honestly, you got to have a lot of respect for Jaylen Brown. Like, Jaylen Brown has carried the Celtics to like Jaylen Brown and the Celtics have surpassed all expectations already this year. You honestly have to admire what Jaylen Brown and the Celtics have been able to do. Just as a basketball fan, you got to admire what they've been able to do this year. Like, this year, they were supposed to be in the rebuilding stage. Like, Jason Tatum goes down in the playoffs last year with an Achilles tear. They let go of Drew Holiday, Al Horford, and Kristaps Porzingis. They were supposed to be in rebuilding mode going into this 2026 season. Not only were they not in rebuilding mode, but Jaylen Brown carried this squad to being a top 2 to top 3 seed in the East. Being one of the best teams in the NBA, still in the running, still very, very much a contender for a championship this year. You got to admire, like, Jaylen Brown, honestly, has just proven and solidified how good of a player he actually is. The fact that Jaylen Brown is an MVP candidate on a team with no Jason Tatum, with Jason Tatum out of the way, I think it honestly just shows how overrated Jason Tatum is and has been over these past 3 years in the NBA. Like, Jaylen Brown doing what he has been doing this season, it honestly just proves a point that I've made on this podcast, before, in that Jason Tatum is overrated. Because if Jaylen Brown is a finals MVP and is now a regular season MVP candidate, we can't say that Jason Tatum has just head and shoulders inarguably been the best player on his team. We can't say that. Like, Jaylen Brown is a finals MVP. He's a champion. He is now an MVP candidate, bona fide top 5 MVP finalist. It proves that Jason Tatum is overrated, is and has been overrated. Like, there is no way Jaylen Brown should not be more, even higher in consideration for MVP. Like, honestly, Jaylen Brown has been so dominant this year. To me, I honestly feel like Jaylen Brown has been tied for the best two-way player overall in the NBA. It's been him and Wemby for me this year. It's been him and Wemby. Jaylen Brown has been a top 2 two-way player, if not tied for first two-way player overall in the NBA alongside Wemby. Like, Jaylen Brown should honestly be when we're looking at this MVP conversation, it's a tough conversation when you're arguing between Jaylen Brown, Luka, who has just been playing out of his mind over these past couple of weeks with the Lakers, dragging them up to a 2 seed in the West, Jokic, who is averaging a triple-double right now, putting up record-breaking triple-double numbers, and then Wemby, who is honestly at this point just unearthly, just like just being an unreal offensive player, but then also an unreal defensive player. Like, it's a tough conversation when we talk MVP between those 4 guys, but the fact that Jaylen Brown has even made it a tough conversation with those 3 names in a year that was supposed to be a rebuilding year for he and his squad, with no Jason Tatum on the floor next to him for a majority of the season. The fact that Jaylen Brown has even made that a conversation, I think just shows how good of a player he actually is. Like, I honestly feel like he has proven that he has arguably a higher ceiling than Jason Tatum, making it that tough of a conversation. Like, the fact that Jaylen Brown has been so dominant this year, that he has been, and his first year really being the clear-cut number 1 option for this Celtics team, it honestly just shows how good he truly is as a player, especially when we have hindsight in terms of looking at how he's really kind of been in Jason Tatum's shadow over these past, really during Jason Tatum's career in Boston. Like, that's the crazy thing. Like, Jaylen Brown 100% deserves this MVP conversation that he has etched his name into because of how dominant he has been this season, almost averaging 30 points per game. I believe he's averaging over 28 points per game. I believe 6 rebounds, being one of the best lockdown defenders in the NBA, leading the Celtics to be a 2 seed, comfortably securing the 2 seed while Jason Tatum was still hurt. Jaylen Brown 100% deserves MVP weight this season. The fact that he's even made it a tough conversation when we're talking about the Lukas of the league, the Jokic's of the league, the Wembys of the league. Like, JB's MVP campaign needs more praise and needs to be talked about more. Because what he's done this season is crazy. But honestly, the fact that Jaylen Brown has been as dominant as he has been this year, and the fact that it has translated to winning, to winning the way it has for the Celtics team, I honestly think it proves a point that I have been making on this podcast before, and that Jason Tatum is overrated. Jaylen Brown's success this season proves that Jason Tatum is overrated as a superstar in the NBA. I honestly feel like the Celtics with Jaylen Brown were a better team than what they would have been if they had Jason Tatum instead of Jaylen Brown. Like, if the roles were reversed, I think this would have been more of a rebuilding year for the Celtics if it was Jaylen Brown that went down for some reason and Jason Tatum was still on the floor. I think Jaylen Brown is the difference, I think, for this team being a rebuilding squad and being a championship level squad, a squad that can really compete for a finals championship, for a finals trophy. Like, if you look at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum side by side, Jaylen Brown is definitely the better two-way player. I think he's more of a consistent scorer. He's definitely a better lockdown defender, and he's honestly more clutch. He's more efficient, he's more clutch, and he has been, especially in their biggest moments of the year. Like, if we're looking at the Celtics at their highs, when they have been on the final stage, Jaylen Brown was the reason why, like, they don't win, let alone, they don't have the success that they have in the playoffs without Jaylen Brown. Like, if we look at the Warriors, their finals matchup against the Warriors in 2022, Jaylen Brown was the higher scorer, averaging 22 points per game, and he was more efficient, shooting 42% from the field. The year they beat the Mavs 2 years ago, Jaylen Brown, he wasn't the highest scorer, as high of a scorer as Jason Tatum, but he was still a 20-point scorer. He was still more efficient, shooting 45% from the field, and he was doing more work on defense. This guy was head up, was guarding Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Like, that was Jaylen Brown's responsibility. He was guarding one of the two. So Jaylen Brown has not only been more consistent on the offensive end overall, more reliable on the offensive end overall, but especially in the clutch moments, but he's also a guy that you can have guard the other team's best player. Jason Tatum didn't have to guard the other team's best player. That's not Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is a solid defender. He's a guy who can play defense, but he is not a true lockdown defender like Jaylen Brown has proven to be over his career. So if I'm the Celtics and I got to choose one guy to rock with, like if I'm in that scenario, I'm choosing Jaylen Brown because not only is he more clutch, he's more efficient, he plays better in big moments, he's more consistent, but he is also a much better defender, a guy that I can lean on and rely on the defensive end to shut down or slow down the other team's best player. The Celtics don't win a championship without Jaylen Brown guarding Luka Doncic. The Celtics don't win a championship without Jaylen Brown guarding Kyrie Irving. So, like, when I look at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum side by side, Jaylen Brown's success this year honestly just showed me how overrated Jason Tatum is as a superstar in the NBA. That's honestly what it showed me. And honestly, from a Sixers point of view, I would be more scared to play a Celtics team with Jaylen Brown as sort of the head honcho, the number one option on the squad, as opposed to having to play a Celtics team with Jason Tatum as the focus of the squad. 1000%. As a Sixers fan, coming from the Sixers perspective, I would much rather play a Celtics team with Jason Tatum than a Celtics team with Jaylen Brown. 1000%. But that's all we got for today's edition of No Shame with Shane. If you haven't already, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms. And I will be back later on with more Shameless.